If you are spending the majority of your time with that kind of material, as many people are, you may feel like you're making progress, but that is literally the slowest way to learn Spanish. And I do not want that for you. What is up, language leaders? Welcome back to the channel where we're all about helping you love, learn, and live a new language and culture. My name is Erica. I'm a former interpreter, translator, language teacher, turned language coach, and most importantly, a language learner myself. So if you are learning a new language, especially Spanish, I'm going to need you to subscribe and hit that notification bell because you just found your second home. Guys, if you have been learning Spanish or any language for that matter for a significant amount of time and you feel like you just don't have much to show for your efforts and you're wondering when you're going to reach that point of being able to have those beautiful, fluent conversations with your friends and with all of those amazing people that you meet on your travels, this is the video for you. Because we are going to be talking about how to learn Spanish faster, okay? We're gonna speed up this process, all right? All right, point number one, I want you to pay more attention to the amount of time that you spend actually in contact with the Spanish language rather than how much time you spend studying. Okay, I'll often hear people say, I spend an hour a day studying. And I'm just getting nowhere. Like I feel like I cannot communicate in the language at all. But what are you actually doing during that hour a day? I mean, if you really start to examine it, you may find that you're spending 20 minutes a day listening or reading an English explanation of a Spanish grammar point, and then maybe 5 minutes or so working on some exercises. Maybe you then spent 10 minutes cruising around YouTube trying to find a good Spanish video to watch, okay? Then you finally find something that looks interesting to you, and what did you do? You threw on those English subtitles. You did not just do that. Now, when those English subtitles are on, what is going to happen? Well, you're going to be reading the English, and you may think that you are getting all this benefit by listening to the Spanish, but you're probably only going to pick up on a few words here or there, because what happens when there's more than one language coming at the brain at once, it automatically gravitates towards whatever is easier. So really, you just spent 15 minutes reading English. Congratulations. That was probably not the best use of your time. Then maybe you wrapped up everything by listening to or reading along with 10 minutes of a Spanish story, which is great. All right, so let's do the math on that. How much time did you actually spend in exclusive contact with the target language? It was not an hour. It was about 15 minutes. So increasing the amount of time that you spend not studying, because that is a very generic term. I don't know what you're doing if you tell me that you're just studying. So increasing the amount of time that you spend actually in contact with the target language, be this through listening, speaking, reading, writing, that is the time that you are really going to count when you are trying to see how long you're spending every day learning Spanish. I don't want you to find that you're spending 80% of your time reading or listening to English explanations of Spanish grammar points. You'll notice that I don't have a lot of those types of video on this channel. Not that that's a bad thing. They definitely have their place. But if you are spending the majority of your time with that kind of material, as many people are, you may feel like you're making progress, but that is literally the slowest way to learn Spanish. And I do not want that for you. I am a big advocate of comprehensible input. If you look at a lot of the content on this channel, you'll find playlists with Spanish listening practice, Spanish stories and conversations. I want you to spend the majority of your time with that material, and of course with other resources as well. But spend as much time as possible in contact with your target language, which if you follow me likely is Spanish. If this is making you question your current study routine, an easy thing that you can do is to go ahead and download my Spanish Fluency Blueprint. It's completely free. It's a study guide that really is designed for you to maximize the amount of time that you're actually spending with the Spanish language. If you're needing a place to start to get ideas, I really highly suggest that you download that. You can get that for free at the link below, or simply go to ericaraylanguage.com/blueprint. Number 2, be honest with how consistent you're actually being with your language studies, okay? So right beside this group of people that complain about how long they study every day and they're not seeing progress, there's this other group that complains of how long they've been learning, as in how many years, and that they're just not seeing the progress that they would like. Now, if you fall into that category, what would really be lovely if you could do is to take a good hard look at how consistent you have been every day over the past 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. But the problem is that that is almost impossible to do. We really cannot remember accurately when we're thinking back to the past. So what I want you to do from here on out is to track. You can start a simple language journal. You can do a paper journal. I use a paper journal for language journaling. This is because my whole life is digital. Almost everything that I do is digital. I'm on the computer many hours a day. And so sometimes it just helps me to take a step back and go old school and get a pen and paper and write down what I did that day to learn French. In my case, I'm currently learning French. But you can certainly do this in a digital format as well. You could go as simple as a Google Doc so that it's automatically saved for you, or you could use a fancy tracker or app to do your language journaling. This does not have to be long. If you have in your mind that you're going to spend 15 minutes journaling a day, one, it's not really necessary unless you just have a lot to get off your chest that day. And two, you may not be consistent with that. So take 1 to 5 minutes a day. It could even be less than a minute, honestly, to just jot down what you did that day to progress towards your language goals. You could even include how you're feeling that day about the language or about the study process itself. You'll find that you have ups and that you have downs. But how cool will it be if when you look back on that journal, you see that even those days that you were kind of lacking in motivation, you still did something. You did 5, 10, 15 minutes of something to advance you towards your goals. That is what you want to see. You want to see that consistency and you want to track it to keep yourself honest. And it's that consistency that's going to help you learn the language so much faster. Number 3, create more immersion opportunities. If you are not immersed in a language by living in a foreign country, that is fine. Find other ways to immerse yourself in the language so that you can learn that much faster. Now, this is kind of a throwback to point number 1 about spending more time in contact with your target language. However, this is a little different because during this immersion time, you don't have to actually be studying the language. This can be very passive. In fact, it should be pretty passive in nature. For example, when you're doing casual listening, as I like to call it, which you can do by music, which is my absolute favorite way to learn and connect with the culture of the language that I'm learning. You can do this through Netflix series, TV, podcast, just that casual listening where you're not so focused on, oh, let me understand everything, let me extract all of the knowledge that I possibly can out of this. You are just relaxed and you're absorbing the sounds, maybe the sights, the rhythm and the flow of the language. And the beautiful thing about this is that when you're doing casual listening, there's nothing that's too advanced for you. There's nothing that's too far above your level. When you develop this mindset of there is a time and a place for study, and there is a time and a place for immersion in the language. You will find yourself learning from those immersion type activities without even realizing it, and doing it in a really, really fun way. Do you have a favorite movie, a favorite series that you like to watch in English? Why don't you substitute that with Spanish some nights? You already know the storyline, so you're not going to be struggling trying to figure that out. You're simply going to be enjoying your show, picking up on things here and there, and seeing how all of those beloved characters of yours express all of those lines that you probably remember in English now in Spanish. And the beautiful thing about casual listening is that it doesn't have to take up any additional time in your day. Why not listen to music, podcasts in Spanish while you are doing the dishes, while you're on the treadmill, while during your commute, while you're doing something that you would have done anyway? Immerse yourself and get that extra time in. Now, listening is not the only form of immersion. I mean, think if you were immersed in the language because you live in a foreign country. And let's imagine that no one speaks English in your foreign country. You're not going to surround yourself with English-speaking foreigners, okay? It's just you and the locals and the language. Well, you're going to be doing a lot more than just listening to that language. You're going to be reading the Spanish menu. You're going to be filling out forms in Spanish, okay? So there's some writing. You are going to obviously be speaking as well, only in Spanish if you want to communicate. So even if you do not live in a Spanish-speaking country, you can still create some of those immersion activities for yourself. Why not only write your grocery list in Spanish? As you learn new phrases that are relevant to you in your daily life around your house, why not teach them to your family members? If they're not learning with you, maybe they should be. Teach them to your kids, teach them to your spouse. This is a really fun thing that you can do. Hopefully your family members won't be stubborn like I was when my dad, who was the first person who started to learn Spanish in my family, when he would try to teach me things and I would just block it out and say, "Dad, when am I ever going to need to speak Spanish?" I mean, really. Hopefully your family members will not be like that. Teach them the benefits of becoming bilingual. Get everyone involved, and the more involved you get everybody, the more you can have more of those immersion opportunities during the day. If you live by yourself, that may be even better because you can just go around all day long and talk to yourself in Spanish and just try to do as many activities that you would normally do in English in Spanish. And of course, I know you have to work, I know you have to do other things that will require probably that you speak English, but the point is, do the best that you can to immerse yourself, even in your own environment. Number 4, establish solid language learning habits. If every morning during breakfast you review your flashcards for 5 or 10 minutes, and every day when you run on the treadmill you are listening to a Spanish podcast, and every night before bed you take 10 minutes to do some reading in Spanish, if you are doing those things consistently, they will become habits. And what is the beauty of habits? The beauty of habits is that you start to do them automatically. And the way I see this is that the more things that you can automate, the less you will see learning Spanish as an academic subject where you're just going to sit down and study for an hour, which is something that you may do some days and you may not do other days, if you run out of time, if you get too busy. But if you have established little habits, then those are things that you can do throughout your day without thinking. So no matter how busy you get, you've already gotten some of your language learning out of the way for that day, and it becomes part of your life instead of something that is separate from your life, if that makes sense. Something that is just over here, you have to do it as if it were a school subject. It becomes part of who you are. Number 5, keep yourself motivated with small goals. When we have this elusive vision of fluency in front of us, it's something that seems impossible to reach, and it probably will be impossible to reach if that's the only thing that we're striving for. But when we set small goals and we work towards that and we're able to check that off in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, that is so motivational, and we're putting our focus on that one thing. Maybe we want to be able to order bread at the local Mexican bakery. Maybe we want to be able to leave a voicemail in Spanish for a friend. Maybe then we want to be able to have a 5-minute conversation on one subject, all in Spanish. Okay, it's these little things that help us stay focused and help us keep our motivation up, because we're able to see our progress. And when we are motivated because we're seeing that progress and we're checking off those boxes, we're automatically going to spend more quality time with the language. Our study sessions may become longer naturally, just because we see that goal right ahead of us. We can taste it. We're about to accomplish it. The knowledge that you obtain from each one of those little things that you're accomplishing is just going to compound. You are going to learn so much faster than if you continue to be really vague about what you're trying to accomplish. I hope these tips have been helpful for you. Let me know in the comments if any one of these resonated with you. And don't forget to download your free copy of the Spanish Fluency Blueprint to get an example of a study schedule that you may decide to follow that is going to have you in maximum contact with the language and get you to where you want to go faster. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you do not miss any of my future videos about language, Spanish, and life here in Mexico. If you enjoyed this video, then you will definitely like these others. Check these out next, and I will see you next time. Los dejo hasta la próxima, mis queridos líderes de lenguaje.